I just thought it was funny because then talking to the lender, he was like, "Oh yeah, duplexes don't last around here. Like they're gone." And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I knew I'd already seen this one and we were gonna go look at it, and I'm like, "Well, maybe something's wrong with this. I don't know, but it's still here."
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Real Estate Investing School podcast. This is a Real Deal series, and I'm your host, Brody Faucett. Today, we have another Faucett as a guest that's joining us, my little brother. What's up, Corby in the house?
What's up, man?
Dude, excited to jam with you today. Not every day I get to talk to my little bro about real estate on air. So thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, happy to be here.
You didn't have a choice, did you?
Didn't have a choice. No, it's just good to feel like maybe living up to the standards a little bit. I'm on the show, so
Yeah, no, dude, definitely. And this is going to be a cool one. This is why I wanted to have you come on, and I was just telling you probably should have had your wife on here with you as well, because you guys have kind of gone through this process together. But I saw it all firsthand for somebody that really wanted to buy a property, get into real estate, and kind of like the ups and downs that you went through to just here recently, a couple of months ago, like buying your first property, buying it smart, buying it as an investment, and actually getting something that allows you to live in the home but also make money on it. And so I'm excited to dive into all of that, but I think it hits home for a lot of people that are listening, because honestly, it's pretty common. A lot of people want to get into real estate. A lot of people are waiting to get into it. And so that's what's fun about these Real Deal series that we do, is we could just talk about one deal and how you did it and how they can replicate it. So excited to dive in, man.
awesome.
Maybe give me a background really quick, and people that are listening, like what was kind of the process for you? And then we'll talk about your deal and get an overview on that. But like, what was the process leading up to until you actually found this deal that you're in now, and where you're at and where you're living? And was that discouraging? Like, what was the process like for you? What were you doing? Did you want to give up? Why did you keep on pursuing it?
Yeah, man, it felt like it was a long time coming, and very grateful that it finally worked out. Um, I think just having you, obviously, as an older brother, everyone's always asking me about real estate stuff, or how many properties does Brody have, this, that. I'm like, I don't, I don't know all these, I don't know all these questions, but I know that it's something that I've always wanted to do. And then, of course, my wife Kelsey had that same mindset. So I think just coming home from my mission, you got me to do sales just for that month or so right there at the end of summer. And it was like, oh, I want to come back and buy a house. And so we started looking at properties since basically 2020. Um, and me and you were going to partner up on a couple of them. Feel like you kind of were letting me learn things along the way. And anyways, so it was like a lot of good learning opportunities, a couple close deals that looking back, I remember like that one in Cedar that was gonna be really good, and kind of some weird things happen at the end, and you just basically told me, you're like, hey, like it's up to you if you want to do it or not. And I'm like, man, you're the expert, you tell me. And so we ended up like just not doing it. And obviously looking back, it's like I really wish we would have just done it. Um, so yeah, it kind of been on my mind, really been trying to. I didn't want to just get a house. I didn't want to just go get a town home or something, which is about all we could afford lately. It seems like everything was crazy in St. George where we were living. It was like, I don't, I don't want to do that. Um, really wanted to get something that could possibly get us money back and could be a good investment for the future. I think me and Kelsey, we both had the mindset where like we're totally cool to live in some crappy place if it means we can make money each month, or we will be able to make money each month. So it was like a little discouraging just because we felt like we were willing to make the sacrifices and it just hadn't quite panned out, and then it finally did. So it's been great.
Yeah. That's cool, man. I think it's important just like hearing you say that and you touching on that because just a lot of people feel that, it's very easy to get discouraged and you almost just want to throw in the towel because it's like, oh, I can't find anything that's going to pencil as an investment or that's going to be a good, financial decision. So I might as well just do what all my friends are doing and everybody else is doing. And that's either just keep renting or I'm just going to go buy a house, like you said, that's, the townhome or, nothing against townhomes, but like you go and buy the townhome that's affording you to live there, but it's not necessarily going to be a good rental property and it's not going to pencil as an investment. And so props to you for kind of like sticking it out and being like, hey, I'm going to figure this thing out and we're going to make it happen. And I feel like that was cool from my end to see just like the tenacity of like, okay, I want to set myself up for the future and you and your wife both. And I think that mindset is it's so key, man. And a lot of people don't have it. A lot of people are missing it, but just what you said about like, I don't really care what we live in. Like I'm willing to live in a less nice place. It doesn't have to be top of the line, especially if it's going to set me up for my future. And I feel like that is real estate investing early on in a nutshell. It's being willing to trade a few years of your life like most people won't, and they're not willing to, so you can live the rest of your life like most people can't, right? And so that was super cool. But yeah, dude, let's dive into your deal because it's not in Utah, which is crazy. So tell us what state it's in, where it's at, because you grew up in Utah, you're from there. But yeah, why this property? Why did you guys buy it? And what are some cool things about it? Just tell us like how it pencils as an investment, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, it's in Oxford, Mississippi, actually. Um, Funny how things work. Never thought we would have ended up here, but Kelsey, my wife, she coaches soccer. She was coaching at Utah Tech, um, and then they ended up getting the coach she coaches with, got a job here at Ole Miss, and was like, "Hey, we really want you guys to come with us." This was all happening in the summertime, and I'm thinking like, I never planned on leaving Southern Utah. That's I'm happy there. But then here, Kelsey has this super awesome opportunity to come coach in the SEC and be around like a much bigger school. And it's kind of like, I can't really say no to that. Um, so we end up coming out here, and it was, I think, like June. It was June sometime when we decided, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to come. Um, and Kelsey had to be out here like in July. And so we're looking at places and we really didn't want to rent, right? Because we've been wanting to get a house for forever. Now the market is cheaper out here. So we're like, we can really do this. We'll be able to actually get a place. Um, but at the same time, like inside of Oxford, it's actually growing quite a bit. Um, the university's been growing a lot, and so the prices inside Oxford itself, it kind of feels like St. George prices. If you compare it to just regular Mississippi, it's quite a bit cheaper, and then Oxford, it still feels like Utah as far as the price range goes. And so we really didn't have this much time, so we got hooked up with a realtor out here, um, and started looking at these places. And of course, I was looking at Zillow, trying to, just from what you've always taught us and what you did when you were younger, especially in college, just house hacking basically. So I'm looking at all these houses like, is there any way we could split it? Can we make it a duplex? Like, how can we make this work? And
And
we
you
come
actually
out here and we
communicated this,
basically
right?
had like a
With
week.
your realtor. Like that was part of your conversation from afar was as they were going and looking at these properties, like, hey, could this be split? Or like, can you ask the owner about this? Or are there separate utilities? I remember having those conversations with you.
Yeah. Yep. So, um, we were talking about all that stuff because that was something that was important to us. It's like, man, we don't want to just get a house, but then we didn't want to rent here either. And so that's what we had told them. Like, hey, we really want something that we can live in one end and rent the other. And I remember I remember talking to the lender, and this is before we found anything, and I was just like, yeah, this is really what we want to do. And he's just like, oh man, yeah, everybody wants a duplex out here. Like they go so fast, and like it's basically was telling me it's probably not going to happen, right? And anyways, yeah, we ended up finding something. It's out here in the county. It's 12 minutes from the university. It's on an acre. Um, it's sweet. We have like the main house that's 3 bed, 2 bath, and then they had actually, it used to be a carport, and they converted the carport to just like a big living room basically. Um, but then 20 years ago, when her parents got sick, they built a house next door that's a 2 bed, 2 bath with like pretty big kitchen, pretty big living room.
Cool. So you basically got two for one, two houses on one lot,
Yep.
and you were able to buy this, putting how much down? Like what percentage down did you get required to put down from the bank?
Yeah, 3%, 3.5%.
3.5%, because you're willing to live in one of the houses, and which is so cool. And then what was the purchase price of the house?
365.
365. So cool. Like I just love this because it's like one, you just jumped into having two properties. You know, you have two separate units now. All of a sudden, you went from like trying and striving to like figure this thing out to all of a sudden, cool. Now you have two properties with 3.5% down, which isn't that much cash, right? And then eventually you'll move
Mm-hmm.
out and you can do the same thing again. And now you're at 4 units and you're still, how old are you right now?
23.
23. So it's like the same thing next year, and it's like all of a sudden you're 23 and you have 4 units. Like it's just setting yourself up at such an early age, which is so cool. But tell us about what you did with the other unit, because what's your mortgage right now? What's your payment to the bank?
26.
26, and then I
2600.
$2,600, and then I know you moved in. You kind of painted the other unit, and you did some. This was great. Like I was joking around with you about this, but I'm the oldest. You're the second to youngest in our family, and I think that's about the
Yep.
time that Dad stopped having us do manual labor, because I don't know why those
Oh.
carpentry skills never got passed down to Cowboy Core, but they didn't. So it was great, just like watching you try and figure stuff out and get your hands dirty. I loved it. I'm just kidding, but part of that is like you did a lot of it yourself, and it didn't need a ton of work, but you just kind of updated it, and you painted the walls and added some cutesy stuff to it to make it a solid Airbnb, right? And that's what you're doing with it now.
Yeah. Yep. So the biggest thing I would say is there's definitely a difference when you have someone that's always told you what to do and then you do it versus when you're turned out on your loose and you're sitting there looking like, okay, I should probably do this, but I don't want to ruin this and I just need someone to tell me to do it. And so yeah, it was a great experience just doing a lot of it on our own. Like, there was a jetted tub that we ended up ripping out. So just like self-leveling the floor, redoing some of that plumbing right there, and then we put in a shower and um, just put in like this stick tile that just made it look way good. Um, yeah, painted everything in the main house. There's popcorn ceilings. We scraped all those, remudded the ceilings. So a lot of little things that it was definitely a great learning experience for me. But yeah, with this smaller unit, we decided to go the Airbnb route, um, mostly just because it's just where we're at. It's like super nice. Everything's kind of spaced out, and it's kind of like that country living. And we're like, we really don't want to have someone right next to us while we're living here, especially um, I'm gone back and forth hunting. Kelsey's here. Like, kind of just be nice to have our own place. But like you said, we've always kind of had that mindset of let's get some of the mortgage back, right? So we decided to do the Airbnb thing just with the football games and other things going on in town. Seemed like it was a pretty good idea, so we tried to make that we just call it the guest house. It's literally right next door. But we tried to make that look as nice as we could, and took a couple of months, got it on, and it's actually surprised me how much it's rented out. So far, I think it's been on Airbnb for 6 weeks, and we've had someone there every weekend, so it's been great.
That's awesome. And how much of your mortgage has it helped supplement just having that guest house rented out?
Yeah, so our first month, I think it was October 4th was the first day we got it rented out, and all through October we ended up making like just under 2,400 bucks Airbnb.
Wow. So it covered your
And the
mortgage.
more, yeah, yeah, basically,
That's awesome, man. Um, so cool.
basically,
And then it's like you could move out and then eventually you can Airbnb the house you're in now, which is a little bit bigger, a little bit nicer, or, have other renters in there, whatever it is. But I think it's just important for people listening where it's like, okay, Corby was trying to figure this thing out. Like he didn't give up, and it's not like you had like hundreds of thousands of dollars all saved up, right? It's like you saved some money up for your down payment. You're working on that, but that was like part of the part of the barriers to entry too, right? You're like, I don't have all this cash. Like I need to figure out these different ways, and that's when you and I talked about partnering on different things, and we tried that and tried this. But ultimately, like you found this deal that fit your price range, low money down, and I just love the fact that the way that you did it and how it all is kind of like starting to pay off and seeing all that kind of come full circle, which is so awesome. Jumping back to like how you found it, would you say that's really how you found it, was just working with your realtor and explaining to him like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do? Because you didn't, I know once you had under contract, you came out to see it, but like, did you mostly just say, hey, this is what I'm looking for? We want a duplex, or we want something we can separate, or something we can rent rooms out for, and this just happened to be one that was on the market? Or what's kind of the story there, how you found it?
um, yeah. So we definitely told them what we wanted, and that's what I thought was kind of interesting, almost like coming outside of Utah, is um, it almost seemed like it new to him. Like he was like, "Cool, yeah, you want something that you can rent out." And the other thing that was interesting is there's really no restrictions. So like I know back in Utah it's like, okay, you can house hack this. You kind of have to be careful in some areas. I know obviously you want to check the zoning, right? That's always the safest way to go. Um, but here he's pretty much like, "Oh yeah, you could do that if you wanted." I'm like, there's like no zoning, there's no. He's like, "No, you can." I'm like, dude, sweet. Yeah, let's find something like that. So I actually ended up finding this on Zillow, and it had been on Zillow for like over 50 days.
Cool.
So it just, and it kind of, I just thought it was funny because then talking to the lender, he was like, "Oh yeah, duplexes don't last around here. Like they're gone." And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I knew I'd already seen this one and we were gonna go look at it, and I'm like, well, maybe something's wrong with this. I don't know, but it's
Yeah.
still here.
Yeah, dude, I love that. I love that you found it too, just because it's like all of your research and your education and learning is like it paid off, and that's how a lot of the deals go. For me, like I'm finding most of my own deals, right? Because you're looking at it creatively, you're looking at it a little bit differently, and I don't know how this was advertised, but sometimes you have to read down in the description a little bit, right? And then you find like, oh, or you're looking through the pictures and you're like, oh, they didn't say anything about this, but there's like this hidden gem over here, and I could do something with this. And so, props to you for that. I think that's super cool that you found it that way. And I think it also goes to show just one, how many people aren't willing to do what you just did, or aren't even like thinking with an investor mindset. They're just more thinking like, hey, is this the place that I want to live in? Am I emotionally tied to buying this house versus like, am I going to logically buy this house? And so, even from a standpoint of what people have said to you, like you said, with the lender, with the realtor, and like, hey, there's no deals, this isn't going to work. And we talk about it a lot with seller financing. Like, hey, are you open to seller financing? Or you ask the realtor if they'll ask the owner, and they're like, no, like they're not going to be open to it. And it's like, well, we just ask them. And then a lot of times they're like, oh yeah, they're actually open to it, you know? And so you can never take those assumptions from other people and let their mindset kind of dictate the way things go. And so I think that's just another gold nugget we pull out of just listening to you. It's like, it doesn't matter what other people tell you, even if it comes to a point where it's like, oh no, you can't qualify for this, or you don't make enough money to qualify. Well, it's like, okay, well, what's another way? Okay, what's another way? What's another way? What's another way? And a lot of times these this isn't everybody. It's not every lender. It's not every real estate agent. It's not every title company. But a lot of them, they're used to dealing with just like straightforward transactions. What do most people do when they buy a house? They're buying it for themselves, right? So it's like, it's very straightforward. And so we're so used to like bending all the rules and the limits and looking at it from all these different angles and like, oh no, we're going to make this thing work. And they're just not used to bending over and twisting like that. And so finding those people that have that experience and just like pushing, man, I think that's just something that I've learned from talking to you, and how important and how crucial that is.
Yeah, and I would say that's been like another big thing that I've learned along the way is, because I don't fully understand like all the lending and how all of that stuff works, but I will tell you, because the lender had come and said different things, and like I don't know, I hope we can get this to go through because of this, this, and this, and like I think what I learned at the end of the day is they have a lot of pull, and they can really get creative and make things work. But like you said, like I think you find the right person that is willing to help you get the deal and is willing to put in the work, and most of the time they could probably figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%, man. Well, that's awesome, dude. What would you say to somebody just kind of in closing and wrapping up this deal? And hopefully like you guys that are listening, it's giving you a little bit of encouragement to like, hey, I'm going to go and get my first deal or my second deal, or I'm going to go kind of do something similar. But what would you say, biggest piece of advice to somebody that is in your shoes where you were, maybe 6-7 months ago trying to find something and maybe even a little discouraged?
I would just say you just got to do it, because looking back, like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, I remember two houses specifically that me and you almost pulled the trigger on them, and both of them ended up having like some sort of casita, or it was going to be like a duplex where I was going to live in it and we were going to rent out the other side, and just different things just made me like not go for it. And I would just say, just go for it. Because talking about, we talk 3, 4, 5 years down the road, and it's like, man, if we can pick up a property every year for the next 3 or 4 years, like it's going to be crazy. That'd be awesome. And
Yeah.
it's so exciting. Like, it's so exciting for me talking about that. But I'm the type of person, like, I can get jazzed talking about things pretty quick, You know me, I get excited about stuff,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't say it's like not fully that it's not that I don't want it. It's just that it's easy to like lose track if you're not really thinking about that every single day and reminding yourself. So
Yeah.
my biggest piece of advice, it would be just go and do it. I think now that we've done it, um, and it's been like a pretty positive experience. Obviously, it's been a lot of work, and we spent some of our savings and everything like that. So it's like we don't feel quite as comfortable right now in the moment with our savings, but it's like it's just funny because what Kelsey told me, she's like, it's not like having a bunch of money in your bank account does you any good anyways. So it's like kind of it's just nice to us knowing that like we have invested in ourselves, we have invested in the future. We did it smart. Like I know right now if we moved, it would cash flow, or if we had to sell the place, like we've made it to where there is equity in the home. Um, but yeah, I think you just got to get started, and I hope I stick to my same advice. And here in a year, we're moving again and doing something similar.
Love it, dude. Super cool, man. Well, stoked to have you on. Thanks again for sharing your story with us and sharing your very first deal. Hopefully have you on again and again, talking about lots of deals that you're going to do and put together in the future. But what's the best way for people to reach out to you if they want to ask you more about this deal specifically or follow you?
Um, Hunt and Corby, look me up
Hunt,
on Instagram.
Hunt and Corby. If you
we
if you
we can
need a
take you on a
guide,
mountain lion hunt too if you're interested.
he is the odd man in the family. In a good way. No, like Corby had a horse in high school. I'm like, how did you have a horse in high school? We didn't even have horse property, but he figured out a way to make it happen. But dude, love you, man. Appreciate you. Proud of you, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.